This is Toyota Sports Connection with Tom Buren.
Well, that conversation with Bucs quarterback Josh Freeman is coming up a little later on. We'll get there. Until then, good Sunday evening, everybody. Always glad to have you with us. Let's begin with baseball, where the Rays are now done with interleague play. Couldn't come soon enough. 15 games, 10 losses, and losers in all 5 series against National League teams. That mix of Marlins, Braves, Padres, and Diamondbacks didn't sit very well. 6 of the 10 losses were at the Trop, where the Rays now have a home record of 20-19. Frustration is fueling. We saw it today. 1 is the loneliest number unless it comes in bunches. It has for the Rays. 4 of those last 5 losses have all been by a margin of just 1 run. And adding to the solitude, the Rays offense held to 1 run or less in each of the 4. The latest coming this afternoon against Arizona. Wade Davis back in the saddle, showing his 6-shooter through the first 3 innings, getting Chris Young swinging. 9 up, 9 down. Davis striking out 5. Didn't have to do it all himself in the 4th. Runners on 2nd and 3rd. The defense deflates the D-backs with a double play. Ring it up 5-4-3. Then trouble. Rusty Ryle with a well-placed drive to center. The defense not nearly as quick. BJ has a ways to go, but getting to the ball looks a little too casual. So does the throw back to the infield. Ryle in with a triple. He wouldn't stay there very long. 6 pitches later, Gerardo Parra snaps this to deep center. Don't bother, can't be had. It's a goner. Worth 2, the only runs Davis would surrender. He closes out the inning strong, catching Abreu staring, then Drew swinging. But the damage was done, more ways than one. Diamondbacks needed very little. When the Rays reach the dugout, Longoria confronts Upton, tells him what he thinks about the defense. BJ bites back. The 2 had to be separated. We'll have much more on this throughout the show. In a frustrating day for BJ, bottom of the inning, drawing the walk, he's picked off after leaning to the right. It helped shut down the inning. BJ was hitless in 9 at-bats for the series, while little brother Justin went 5 for 9, including this leadoff liner to left in the 6th. He'd eventually move over to 3rd on a groundout. But that's as far as he got. He never made it home. Young hits the ball back to Davis, who throws home. Jaso and Longoria playing a little pickle, first taking Justin, then the catch-up with a throw to chase down Young, who's headed to 2nd. It's 2 the hard way. On to the bottom of the 6th. The Rays finally cutting into that lead. Sean Rodriguez on 2nd. Carlos Pena on the ball, sticking it down the right field line. The RBI double gets Rodriguez across. Pena in safely. 1 last shot in the 9th. 2 outs with a runner on first. It's BJ with a rip to deep center. Are we talking redemption? Nope, it falls short. In a tough loss, the Rays with just 2 hits on the afternoon, they take the 2-1 loss. The Rays now with just 7 hits in these last 3 games. Now with the loss, the Rays now drop to 3rd place in the East, 1 game back of the Red Sox, who they play next in Boston for 2 games beginning Tuesday night. All right, now to college basketball, where 1 Jordan isn't enough, so the Knights make it 2. Jeffrey Jordan confirms that he is transferring to Central Florida to join his younger brother Marcus. The 6'1" point guard left the Illinois program last month. Under NCAA rules, Jeffrey will sit out the upcoming season. He'll be eligible to play the 2011-12 season as a senior. The younger Marcus was named to the Conference USA All-Freshman team this past season. 2 brothers last played together at a private high school in Chicago, the very same city where their dad Michael became an NBA icon. Well, we have still got some football ahead of us. Bucs quarterback Josh Freeman joins me here. That conversation is coming up. But when we come back, we will go back to the Rays dugout ruckus. More reaction from the clubhouse. That's coming next when the Toyota Sports Connection continues. Well, welcome back, everybody. Just a very, very small window between last weekend's NHL draft and this week's start to free agency. Hall of Famer Phil Esposito has been on both over the years. Always a pleasure to take a line shift with number 7. Phil, good to see you, buddy.
You too, Tom. Boy, it's been a while.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Hey, Brett Connolly goes to the Bolts with that 6th pick. Some project him could have been higher, if not for that hip injury. Some say he's a bit of a risk. But when you saw him play last year, Phil, what was it? 16 games.
That's all he played, yeah.
10 goals, 9 assists. There's a good upside.
I've talked to some people around, in the draft, guys that I really respect, that were scouts years ago and still are consultants and stuff, and all of them say that this is a home run or a strikeout. And the reason is because they don't know. This kid is very, Patrick Marleau's the only other guy to score, 50 goals as a 16-year-old. I mean, and Patrick Marleau has had a terrific career, but he's got tremendous upside, tremendous talent. I had one guy who I respect an awful lot, Angelo Bambaco, who was a scout for us here when I was running things, that told me that if this guy was healthy, he would have been challenging Taylor Hall and Tyler Seguin for number 1 or number 2.
Does he start the season on the roster?
Personally, I think he'll start, but I don't think he'll stay. I think he needs to get back to junior, and he needs to get more seasoning.
Next 4 picks, they go defense. Does that tell us something about the new brand of Lightning hockey?
Oh, yeah. I think it's Boucher's style. I loved what Boucher said, by the way, at the press conference. He says, I don't know what kind of players I have yet, so I'm not going to tell you what kind of system I'm going to have until I know the kind of players. That's the first time I've heard a coach say that. Hallelujah. Why do coaches always insist on coming in and putting their system in with players that don't have the talent to follow it? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I think it was a brilliant move getting this young guy. I think Boucher is going to do terrific here. He's very passionate.
What they didn't do in the draft, certainly they can upgrade through free agency. Phil, begins this Thursday. What is on their must-have list? Personally,
my feeling is it's got to be a goalie. It's got to be a goalie. I know there's some goalies out there, but Chris Mason comes to mind. Nabokov, I'd be surprised if Nabokov would be the guy. I think he's 36 years old, and I think the money situation with him, and quite frankly, he's never won with real good teams. He's never got over the hump. He has a great season, and then the playoffs come and he tanks. I don't know what the reason is, but goalies get blamed for it. I personally think if they're going to go after a goalie, which I think they will, it might be Mason. I do hear that they have offered Niittymaki a contract, and so we'll wait and see on that.
And right behind a goalie would be what? Defense, or do they need help on offense?
A puck-carrying defenseman, or a guy to play with Lecavalier. A guy to play with Lecavalier. I really believe that.
Before we step into free agency, Phil, based on the current roster they have, how much has this team improved with the additions of the new GM, the new head coach alone?
Well, let me put it this way, folks. Last year they missed the playoffs by 8 points, and we all saw the last half of the season after the break. It was awful. And the truth is, they only missed it by 8 points with an awful team. I mean, a team that maybe weren't as bad as we thought. They just played bad. I personally think that this team will challenge for the playoffs this year. And look at Philadelphia. Last game of the season, on a shootout, they get into the playoffs and they get to the Stanley Cup Finals. It could happen.
Get out those skates. It's never an off-season with Phil Esposito.
No, fantasy camp coming up, and I'm actually going to go on the blade.
That's right, man. Sharpen those skates. Phil, always good to see you, my man.
Thanks
so
Tommy.
much. You bet. When we come back, the press box talking a little Upton Longoria face-to-face. That's next when the Toyota Sports Connection continues. To the Magic with a post-game report coming from Atlanta. That's coming up next. But first, some baseball. So when exactly do you know that you're off and running? When a road loss comes as a surprise. That is exactly how well the Rays have played. Winners in 13 of 14 games until today when they took that rare side trip in Oakland. Forget the cruise control and open road. The Rays were hugging the shoulder from the very first inning. Wade Davis struggling from the first at-bat. A's scored twice. Top of the second, the Rays even up the score, down 2-1. Some nice two-out hitting. That from Jason Bartlett. His liner to left gets Jason Jaso home. Rays gained ground, game tied at 2. Ben Sheets didn't need much support, making quick work of the Rays in the fourth on swings, stares, and strikes. Sheets whiffing 8, holds the Rays to just 4 hits. A's manufacture runs, sac flies, and singles, 3-2 lead, held them to the 7th when they get more. Barton with the RBI single. Rays lose, it's a rarity, 4-2. Wade Davis drops now to 3-2. Now, the Magic, it's the closest thing to a sure thing, a best-of-7, 3-0 series lead. How many NBA teams have overcome that 3-game postseason deficit? None and never. That's just the advantage the Magic now have, who are nearing another one and done. A win come Monday night, and it's another series sweep that sends them on to the Eastern Conference Finals. Today against the Hawks, the Magic winning by an average margin of 29 points. A fast start helps. Their very first shot sets the tone. Magic establishing that outside threat. Got it. Matt Barnes throws down a 3. He scores 11. They build their lead to 8. Late in the first, Rashard Lewis catching fire. He scores 15 first half points. Magic stretch it to 10. Before the end of the period, an exclamation point from off the bench. Gortat climbing the ladder, reaching for the rim rattler. Magic didn't dink, they dominated. Hawks would never get the margin under double figures again. Second quarter, more long ball. Jameer Nelson from the deep. He adds 14. Magic go up by 13. They wouldn't let up. They run the lead in nearly 20 before the half. On their final possession, Lewis gets the 3 ball. Got it. He had 4 in the game. Magic with a 19-point lead at the half. Hawks lead the court to a chorus of boos. Second half, Hawks hope for a jump start never came. Atlanta shooting just 35% from the field. Ouch. While the Magic keep the numbers running. Dwight Howard didn't need any muscle. Instead, shooting with some touch. He shows the Hawk the hook. Howard 6 for 8, Magic shooting 50%. They outscore the Hawks in every quarter. Lewis scoring a team-high 22. That fade gets the margin to 25. Hawks' hopes fade with it. Howard finishing with 21 points, 16 rebounds. All 10 Magic players who got in the game scored. They win by 30. 105-75 the final. The Magic are the NBA's only team that is yet to lose through the second round of these playoffs. Dave Bauman has more from